Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Be Thyself podcast by Joanne Laoulach. Today is episode 13, and we have Mogestri Pather here from the Sumo Health and Harmony again. Welcome, Mogestri.
Thank you, Joanne. I'm happy to be back.
I love what we're going to speak about today, Mogestri. This is my favorite topic. Histamines. Someone who's had and suffered from histamines her whole entire life. This one is very special, and I remember thinking that one day I'm going to be talking about this. This is my passion.
Amazing, yeah.
All right, so a little bit about me and histamines, and I'll touch on that before we go into the detail and what we're going to share with the audience and what I've learned over the years is histamines has run my life. When I was about 16, 17, when you get your monthlies, my estrogen went through the roof, and obviously had those pre-existing stuff, so pre-existing like low DAO and no HMT in my diet. We were eating fortified cereals and, cheese toss, those like the chips back in the day was like a theme. So I got estrogen influx and my face looked like this, and I'm going to show the audience. All right, so that was a little bit about me. That was about 16, 17.
Yeah, you could see all the swelling and the distension.
Yeah, and so since then, to be honest, like from moving up like 16, 17, 18, I started to learn and understand about the body. I went to many specialists. I went to allergy specialists. I had to cut out chewing gum from my diet. I remember it was such a strict diet, but I remember getting results. The only thing was I didn't understand it, the detail I understand it today.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't live that way in that diet for too long. So my journey's just been there and onwards. But this is a histamine face, and this is now a histamine-free face.
Look at that. Wow.
See the difference?
Gorgeous.
Histamine-free.
Yeah.
Estrogen lower managed, low inflammation, gut looked after. More influx of methyl tetrahydrofolate in my cell because the supplements I take ensure that I'm getting the uptake, and I'm actually just cut out any synthetic folic acids from my diet.
And you would have noticed that your moves would have dramatically improved as well.
So much energy bouncing off the walls. Yeah. So
fantastic.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Thank you. And today we're going to talk about everything. We're going to share what I've learned over the years. And this is a very special topic for me. So first we'll start with the very basics, Mogestri. What is histamine and why is it important for health and well-being?
So histamine is more than just an allergy trigger. A lot of us associate histamine with hay fever, sneezing, runny eyes, runny nose, but it actually is an immune modulator. It is a digestion aid, and it also has a function in the central nervous system. But most importantly, and a lot of people I think don't realize this association, that histamine has almost a direct impact on the hormones, especially estrogen.
So histamine can make your estrogen go up, but that estrogen can also make your histamines go up.
Absolutely. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah,
they work hand in hand.
Yeah.
Actually, I forgot to mention, a year ago, we recorded our first podcast, the Nutrigenomics.
Yep.
And I remember that day I woke up with the worst hay fever. And I was like, I'm here to do a health talk. And here I am. I'm like, got my tissues. It was the middle of winter.
Poor you. I remember it. Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe since then, which was 12 months ago, I've been so consistent with my gut powders, looking after my gut, my histamine foods, exercise. Like I really stuck to my Nutrigenomics. And I think that's probably why I haven't had any symptoms.
So we'll go into a lot of that today, the association with histamine and gut health, because that's a major player.
All right, awesome. Question 2.
Okay.
How does histamine function in the body, and what role does it play in maintaining overall health?
So histamine is an immune modulator, so it manages our immune system. It also has a massive impact on our neurological system, so it supports dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. And it regulates gastric acid secretion as well. So it helps us digest food. It also has a role in dilating blood vessels, so it allows the cells to heal. So it's more than just, a medium or a messenger. it actually plays a role in a lot of physiological processes in the body, which, can come up as allergies, brain issues, brain
fog.
dysfunction. You could get bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and numerous digestive issues. So histamine is sort of the key, the silent partner in a lot of those reactions.
Well, do we need histamine? Like it plays a good role though,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. But
Yeah.
we need it in small amounts, so small doses.
Okay.
Histamine, like I said, is so important because when the immune system detects a pathogen, it actually releases histamine from the mast cells to deal with the pathogen. So it's like a GPS almost for the cells. It tells the white blood cells where to go, where the infection or virus is, and histamine helps, balance our system again. So we need it in small doses for sure.
Okay, so we need it as a protector. So from pathogens, it plays a role. But what we're dealing with today is a massive influx of histamine.
Yeah, we're dealing with the inability for our cells or our body to regulate the histamine production. And that's when it can cause more pathogenic processes.
All right, cool. All right, well, that will lead us to histamine intolerances versus mast cell activation syndrome, so abbreviation MCAS. How does histamine intolerance differ from the mast cell activation syndrome?
So quite a lot, actually, because histamine intolerance, it has to do with things that trigger an histamine reaction from our diet. So if we had fermented cheeses, wine, alcohol, if we have fermented foods, that's all very high in histamine. And the enzyme to break that down is DAO. So if we don't have enough DAO of our, the support system is not there, then we're more likely to get a histamine reaction. So anything that's happening outside of the cells is related to histamine intolerance.
I'm going to laugh and say DAO.
DAO.
DAO. DAO.
Yeah.
No, it's DAO.
DAO.
Yeah, DAO.
Whereas MCAS, or
Yeah.
mast cell activation syndrome, has more to do with the histamine entering, as a result of an immune reaction. So it's actually our body's defense system. So when, as I said before, if there's an immune issue, the body will release, immune cells will release the histamine from the mast cells, and that will actually target, healing. But when there's an issue with the clearance of histamine, that's when we're more likely to get signs and symptoms. And what's amazing and fascinating about the MCAS, when the histamine is released, it's not just histamine, it's prostaglandins, cytokines, leukotrienes. So you're more likely to get neurological issues, you're more likely to get cramping, pain, brain fog. So it's just like a whole host of, immunological reactions that are happening at the same time that histamine is released.
Okay. And like we said before, it does serve us, but the influx of it is what's causing the problems, right?
Exactly. It's the breaking down and the clearance of it that's causing the issues.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would be all my life.
Yeah.
Breaking down of histamines.
So it's so common. Like a lot of people just can't pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But it's like a massive player.
Massive thing. All right, on to question 2 for that topic. What are the causes, symptoms, and management strategies for histamine intolerance?
So histamine intolerance, so say you've eaten like aged cheddar cheese or Parmesan cheese, and you suddenly start sneezing, or you start get hives, or you feel anxious. That's an indication that you've eaten something that's increasing your histamine levels, and you don't have enough DAO, which is the main enzyme that will break it down. So that's not sufficient in your system. So you will start to get headaches, anxiety, all allergy triggers, sneezing, itchy eyes, runny nose, almost asthma-like symptoms.
Okay. So I've had all those symptoms all my life. Is it true that some people have a bit more of a sensitivity to like histamine intolerances, or you'd probably look at it like genetically, like look at their gut, look at their methyltetrahydrofolate and SAMe production?
A bit of both, because some people definitely have a genetic susceptibility because DAO is encoded by a gene called AOC1. And if you have variants on that gene, then you're more likely to have low DAO function.
Okay.
And you're more likely to be more predisposed to histamine intolerances.
Yeah, so sensitivities, really.
Sensitivity.
But you could also have a histamine food, for example, and we know that's going to cause maybe a histamine influx, but you could also have a non-histamine food, and that could create...
Yeah,
is that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's foods that we call histamine liberators. So they're actually different to a high histamine because they don't contain histamine. But when they break down, they contain, you would have heard of lectins, flavonoids, and they actually stimulate the mast cells to release histamine. So if you can look at it, the mast cell is actually a balloon. And the liberators like pop a needle that pops the balloon, which releases the histamine. So they don't contain histamine, but they stimulate its release.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So, for example, strawberries, citrus fruits, things that are actually healthy for us, right? And
that's
we think,
the annoying thing.
I know. So we think like, why is this, giving me a reaction?
Yeah.
Firstly, is because you're not clearing histamine in the first place, and secondly, these foods activate the histamine release.
Yeah, but someone who's got low sensitivities, their DAO's working, they've got HNMT in their cell, which we're going to talk to you about soon, guys. So we'll go into detail. I'm not talking gibberish. They would have a better chance of breaking down the histamine food, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If they've got, also a major player is hydrochloric acid. So if you are low in hydrochloric acid, you're not producing the gastric juices to, break down the nutrients from food that you've eaten so you can actually digest and absorb. So you may be thinking you're eating a healthy diet.
But you're not for you.
But if it's not being absorbed, you're not, producing or having the cofactors for these important enzymes to work and break down histamine as well.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to talk about and delve into with today, because this is very intricate, and people that are running around day to day don't understand this level of intricacy about your DAO, your HMNT, your MTHFR, which impacts your HNMT. And so I really wanted today, when we discuss how this works, I would love to give the audience some solutions to some of the symptoms that might be experiencing.
For sure.
And then how they can look at managing that, and maybe whether that's diet or fixing their gut or making sure they're absorbing, the methyltetrahydrofolate, which I didn't do for years.
Yes.
So because now I understand it, if I didn't absorb methyltetrahydrofolate and produce folate in the cell, then I never ever gave my cell SAMe, which is the precursor for HNMT.
Absolutely.
Which would actually cause an influx of histamine in the cell, which stops the absorption.
Yes.
Stops the breakdown of histamines.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So histamine queen.
Yeah. And it is a very frustrating journey discovering that you're so sensitive to histamine, because a lot of the foods that we consume are actually quite healthy.
Yeah.
And we think, well, I'm having this fantastic diet,
Yeah.
but I'm reacting to every single thing. And when I see clients, they often come to me with a whole lot of food intolerances because they go and test it and they said, well, I can't eat such and such, and there's only like literally 5 things I can eat.
Yeah.
But we have to start from the ground up,
Yeah. Dr. Mark Hyman, I follow him, and he did a post saying, the boring, the same old, the consistency, the same old food is actually the best way. And you know what? That's kept me healthy for a long while.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what I'm ingesting. I know exactly how my body's going to react to it, and I know all the side effects. That's just because of years of study and years of, actually not even study, like the experience itself taught me so much.
Absolutely.
I know if I have synthetic folic acid, and audience naughty, but last week I trained too much, I reckon. I pushed myself too much, and I was probably having like uneasy sleeps at night. And then what I felt was I wanted carbohydrates, but like I ended up eating refined carbohydrates, and I know they're so bad because I know what they do to my histamines, and I know what they do to my cells, right?
Exactly.
And I felt the effects the day
Straight
after,
away.
just itchy, agitated, annoyed, like
your body's not used to it, right?
Yeah. And just for the audience, the reason why you're feeling this is because when you're not metabolizing it and absorbing the nutrients of the food, because your cell rejects that form, it gets left in your bloodstream. And imagine a high influx of synthetic folic acid built up in your bloodstream. It's going to cause itchy, irritation.
Yeah, it'll also, disrupt your moods as well, your neurological system.
Yeah.
Because, folic acid blocks receptors everywhere.
Yeah. And that was my biggest learning. Oh my God, folic acid. Especially back in the day.
Yeah.
We used to, it was normal. Like when I was 16, cereals in the morning, toast with cheese, like anything you think of. I remember I used to go to the creek, Mogestri, like a creek, and I would, if I'm next to a creek, I would get like a histamine reaction. Really? I was so sensitive.
Yeah.
And then like even moldy cheese, because moldy cheese was back then.
Yeah.
I would have a little bit of moldy cheese. Oh my God, my histamine, babe. My nose, my eyes, everything. Like crazy.
So true.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about histamine intolerances versus the mast cell activation syndrome, and we talked about how it works and how they differ, what the causes, the symptoms are. How does MCAS differ in terms of triggers, symptoms, and treatment approaches?
Okay. So MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, basically gets triggered when there's an influx of histamine. It's a clearance issue. So we can associate histamine intolerance with being a sink. Our sink is full and it's not being cleared.
Okay.
But we can associate MCAS with the tap on the sink is overflowing. We can't switch it off, and there's just an influx of histamine entering our cells.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we get all sorts of symptoms. We get things such as with sensitivity to perfumes, fragrances, with sensitivity to any chemicals in the environment.
What about mold?
Mold is a big one, mycotoxins, so we're not breaking that down. So everything gets triggered, and there's no allergen. Like, when you have an intolerance, there's an allergen. Could be hay fever or pollen or something.
That's a side effect.
But with MCAS, there's no direct allergen. We just react to basically every single thing.
Wow.
Because I mentioned before, it's not just histamine that's been released from the mast cells. The mast cells release over 200 mediators.
Wow.
So those mediators are prostaglandins, leukotrienes, cytokines, all inflammatory markers. So it's just one little component of a massive inflammatory storm that's, just invading your body.
Yeah, so you just walk around needing to live in a bubble, really.
Yeah, exactly.
You're reacting to
it's
absolutely
even
everything.
Like friction on our skin. Like if we rub our skin too much, we break out. So it's the hives. It's such a debilitating condition, really.
So this is happening internally, and we're going to talk about how we can look at improving this from all different angles. But would saunas help to eliminate the load for someone?
Not for everyone, because if you got an MCAS issue, then that heat could be just too much, because the temperature fluctuations would just trigger the histamine as well.
Okay.
So we basically would step away from that from now, so we know really what's activating it, and start healing. So the healing component is looking at your liver health, looking at your absorption of nutrients.
Yeah.
Mainly looking at your diet, keeping a diary, and also a food and mood sort of diary. So, what you've eaten and how it's affected your mood, how it's affected your sleep. So we do all the investigation work at first.
So we work from the inside. Yeah. When we get that down, I reckon a sauna would sort of be
sauna would be part of the detox protocol when you are, strong enough to deal with it.
Yeah.
And making sure you've got all the cofactors to support histamine clearance.
Awesome. Histamine breakdown and methylation.
Right.
So this is a big one. This is what we mentioned previously in our previous discussions. Oh, just very simple. How is histamine broken down in the body, and what enzymes are involved?
So DAO is an enzyme that breaks down histamine, and you can have, like I mentioned before, a genetic issue where you don't produce enough, or you could just have an influx of histamines in your body, and you don't have the cofactors to produce DAO. So DAO is actually produced in the lining of the small intestine, so it has a big association with gut health as well. So if you got leaky gut or any inflammation in the body, your body is going to have lower DAO activity, and you're going to accumulate histamine. So you're going to become more sensitive. So HNMT is another enzyme, and there's a gene called HNMT. So a lot of people may have variants on the HNMT gene. So you're not actually, producing this enzyme. So you need to encode it. You need the cofactors to, support it. So you need vitamin B6, you need vitamin C. You need to make sure that you're having foods that are, fairly high in copper, and not too much of zinc. Because a lot of us, we supplement with zinc, and we actually throwing off the balance of copper. So we need to have that 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it's got to be a ratio.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even manage that or determine that? Isn't there tests that you can do where you can measure your copper
so in
to
clinic,
zinc?
I'm always testing zinc. Zinc is a saliva test for me, and it's like it tells me exactly. But in blood tests as well, we can see what's in your bloodstream, what your levels are. You can also do a zinc-copper ratio test as well in your labs.
Okay, so you have that ability to test for that, and that gives you indication of what might be happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So just to break it down for our audience, because I want to help them understand really in short what the DAO is and what HNMT is. So DAO is potentially inherited.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, but could also not be inherited and could be due to lifestyle.
Could be lifestyle and could be to a less nutritious diet. It's like you're not having, cofactors to support DAO, presence.
Which is lifestyle, right?
Lifestyle and, just your gut health. It always comes back to the gut.
I know. Everything is the gut. Everything is the gut.
It
like
all starts
in
the
all
gut.
topics, though.
Yeah.
Like, isn't
everything.
that crazy? I watched a documentary the other day. This girl had a traumatic event happen to her in her life. She was having bipolar and mania episodes, and she did a fecal transplant. And that traumatic experience sort of just diminished because she increased her neurotransmitters. And it was all her gut. She started to change her weight loss. Her face was better. She had more energy. She was more positive. So, actually everything is the gut. So let's look at all factors, whether that's emotional. Emotional will trigger responses, but we want to look at the prevention medicine and how we improve one's issue rather than, taking the other course, which could be long-term drugs.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's potentially inherited or could be lifestyle. Where is it? You said it was produced in the gut. That's what you said exactly, right?
DAO?
Yeah,
in the
gut.
intestinal lining of the gut.
Intestinal lining of the gut.
small intestine,
Okay. And some people is more varied than others. Is that right?
So some people have low activity because those are the ones that inherit, genetic variants on their DAO.
Yeah.
And some people, like we mentioned, lifestyle, diet, stress, all of that.
And they could be having just a high histamine food diet.
And thinking that they're eating healthily.
Oh, I was going to say, and not really thinking they're doing anything bad, but they have the predispositions for that. Okay.
That's a sad thing about histamine.
I know.
Right?
I know. Do you know how many good foods there are that you get other nutrients from?
Yeah.
Okay. So what role does methylation play in histamine clearance? And how can poor methylation exacerbate histamine-related symptoms? Before you answer this, and we're going to answer this in a second, we did a whole podcast on methylation.
Yeah.
That was last year. That was exactly 12 months ago. Today we're going to talk about its connection to histamines.
Okay. So basically methylation, I'll just do a quick run through.
Okay.
It's like the switch on the master switchboard of every biological process in the body. So it switches on and switches off our genes. So basically it just means that to be able to methylate, we can go through, we can detoxify, we can reduce stress, we can balance our neurotransmitters, we can support our immune system, all because we can, go through this pathway. But the big, the master and the most important byproduct of methylation is a metal group called SAMe. Now, SAMe initiates the production of HNMT, which is, for the enzyme that's required to break down histamine in our cells.
Okay, and that's where that little key player is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you're not absorbing, if you have a diet that is just full of processed foods, rich in folic acid, if you don't supplement with B vitamins, and I will talk about a bit more about the B vitamins, if you are stressed, if you are not able to detoxify, so if your liver function is low, it just means that we're not methylating well. And when you're not methylating well, we're not producing SAMe, and then we're not producing HNMT to clear out the intracellular histamine.
So we need that as the precursor in order to break histamines in the cell.
Absolutely.
So DAO breaks down histamines outside.
Yeah.
And we need SAMe to produce HNMT, and we make SAMe from an intake of methyl tetrahydrofolate in the cell.
Yes, that's true.
So to wrap it up, just so...
Yeah, it's a bit complex. Yeah, but
very
it's
complex.
a chain reaction.
But I'll break it down.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you have histamines and histamine reactions, there's two places that you can look at. It could be the DAO enzyme. The DAO enzyme is made in the lining of the gut, and it breaks down the histamines outside of the cell. So you need that for a histamine breakdown outside. And if you are not breaking down histamines in your cell, it could be because you're not actually absorbing methyl tetrahydrofolate. So you're not getting that intracellular. That is the precursor of SAMe. So methyl tetrahydrofolate will make SAMe, and SAMe makes HNMT, and HNMT actually clears out histamines in the cell. So we want to clean out histamines outside and inside, so we need all these ingredients.
Absolutely, because it's not just a breakdown or clearance issue, but it's both. You need to break it down and we need to clear it.
Okay, wow. Okay, so made that clear. Thank you, Mogestri. But just to wrap it up for the audience, because it's very complex.
It is, yes.
Such a complex topic. All right. How do genetic factors like MTHFR and HNMT variants influence histamine metabolism?
So genetic factors like HNMT. So HNMT, like I said, we need the cofactors, right? So you need your vitamin B6, vitamin C, and you also need mast cell stabilizers like your quercetin. So things that are found in onions that are rich in quercetin, all of those vegetables, actually help support HNMT.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And we talked about MTHFR, so you need
all your B vitamins. So just when we talk about B vitamins again, because we touched on that earlier, so you need to assess how anxious you are. So if you're a very anxious person, highly emotional, nervous, I wouldn't really suggest a metal form of vitamin Bs because that metals, if you know you're not methylating because you have this issue, is actually going to increase your anxiety.
So it's because it's too fast.
It's too fast. It's too fast.
So what form do you need for
So
that?
you'll need folinic acid, and for metal B12, you need hydroxy B12.
Okay.
So you need a semi-activated metal B.
Which is the one I use.
Yeah.
So I use the folinic and the hydroxy. Yeah, so those are the two that my cells are able to take in and produce the methyl tetrahydrofolate form.
Exactly.
That helps the cell produce the SAMe, which helps with the HNMT development for histamine breakdown in the cell. And obviously more other things, mood, energy, all that sort of stuff. We know there's so many other factors or reasons why we need to produce methyl tetrahydrofolate for our cell production.
Every single production. Like I said, it's a biological process in every single cell that we actually need.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm a visual person, right? And even when I studied human biology, it wasn't paper to pen, but it was like,
diagrams.
Yeah, diagrams. Oh, so if that's not breaking down there, then that causes this and that. So the way I visualize it, imagine I'm taking all this synthetic folic acid.
Yeah.
Okay, my body can't break it down. It's got an influx in my bloodstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blocks my cell receptors, high histamine, agitation, irritation, mood swings, all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. And so, but a healthy functioning human is that we are actually absorbing, and each one of our cells is ingesting that form to give us the nutrients we need, which are all cofactors for other things. They make everything work. So even falling pregnant, we talked about in the last podcast. So preconception, we know, you said, exact words, you need to methylate
in order to make another human being.
Yeah, you said those words. You need to methylate in order to make another human being. And I don't think it's just that. I think it's all those things: histamine breakdown, healthier mood, energy, all that sort of stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, the other big topic, which we touched on previously, was gut health and histamine. Mogestri.
So, there's a famous, I don't know how famous it is, but in a lot of my readings, this comes up that histamine is the main actor in the immune system and your gut sets the stage, right?
Okay.
So so histamine is the one that, is like the drama queen. It's always wanting attention, and it's always
the characters now. I have a human diagram, and you've got characters. I love that. What are we going to call the drama queen? Can we give her a name?
Yeah, Princess H, right?
Princess H. All right, cool.
So basically, if you have, like I said, a leaky gut or weak gut lining, your DAO enzyme is actually going to not work very effectively, and you're going to accumulate more inflammation. And this is another marker of high histamine. Inflammation drives up histamine.
Okay.
So if you sort of go for blood tests and you realize that your C-reactive protein levels are really elevated, your white blood cells are higher, that's an indication that there's definitely inflammation driving all of that.
Okay, but doesn't histamine also drive inflammation?
Yeah.
Doesn't it work the other way around?
It works both ways,
okay.
Yeah.
And
it
how do you
compounds
determine
it? It amplifies it.
And how do you determine that? Like, say we to say that to the audience, how would you be able to determine
Whether you're inflamed?
Yeah, or you got high histamines.
Yeah, exactly.
That's causing the inflammation.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of both. So if you've got bloating, headaches, stomach, you're not breaking down your food, if you react to everything you eat, if you feel, uncomfortable after you've eaten, but all the neurological symptoms as well, brain fog, anxiety, insomnia, there's just, everything. There's a
whole load of stuff.
So much.
Okay. All right. And so these are all the symptoms if your gut health is causing histamines or histamines are causing inflammation. So they work both.
Yeah. And another important symptom that a lot of us, may experience is like, what's the largest organ in our body?
Our skin.
Our skin. So it's the hives. It's the reactivity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Acne, everything has got to do with imbalanced gut, which is more likely to, affect the breakdown of histamine.
I said to my mum the other day, I was like, Mum, when you learn about the body the way I do, you just think that we are highly functioning miracles, because all these factors that could happen because of this and that went wrong, and you get this genetic disease, and that's like being alive actually is a miracle, because there's so many things happening in the body that affect so many things. So to have a healthy functioning human or a healthy child and stuff like that, it's actually a miracle.
It is. And, all these symptoms or, associations we make with our immune system, it's actually data. It's all information our body is so cleverly, spitting out and telling us, hey, things, I need some help. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
So basically it's tuning in.
So it's like a feedback. I say it's always the feedback loop system. And so if you're having these reactions or you're feeling this way and rah, these are all got to do with your body talking to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so how does the gut health impact the histamine levels, and what role does the DAO enzyme play? And I think we touched on that briefly, but if you could just
about the lining of the gut. So it's, it's made in the intestinal lining. In the microvilli. So, a lot of people that have gluten intolerance or celiac or irritable bowel disease, their microvilli are actually not working effectively. And that means that DAO is quite low, because DAO is actually on the top of those microvilli. So if they have inflammation, if their mucus lining of the gut is compromised as well, if they don't have enough Akkermansia bacteria to support the mucin lining, all of that is going to make them more susceptible to leaky guts.
Yeah.
And the thing is with leaky guts, we have these little helpers called tight junctions.
I remember that. I remember studying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So tight junctions basically almost, let in nutrients from the bloodstream and let out, metabolites that our gut has to get rid of.
Yeah.
But the problem is when there's an infection or when there's leaky gut or, our immune system is challenged, these tight junctions actually, spread apart and we get in things that are not supposed to be where they should be.
And that would cause?
And that would cause whole body systemic inflammation.
So that's another reason that you could have systemic inflammation just from that.
And remember that the lining of our small intestine is only one cell thick, right? So it's made that way just to allow nutrients to sort of diffuse in and out. So that's why it's so sensitive, right, to toxins and pathogens and viruses.
Very sensitive. Okay, so what are the symptoms of a low DAO activity and how can gut dysbiosis worsen histamine issues?
So low DAO is, think of hay fever, asthma like triggers. If we eat high histamine foods, we're going to get, those reactions. We're going to get hives and skin itchiness. But we're also going to get rapid heart rate, palpitations. But it also happens when we stress. So we get brain fog and anxiety.
So you could have a really healthy gut lining and really good DAO enzyme activity and even have HNMT in your cell when it's breaking down histamine, but you could just go through a really stressful time in your life, like whether that's grief or loss or whatever, and then your stress and your cortisol just causes everything to get out of balance. Then you really have to be working on that one factor, lower the cortisol, and then work back on healing everything else, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of information now about cortisol as well in our system, and everybody is like on this sort of pathway where we need to have low cortisol levels. So they're taking ashwagandha, they're taking a whole lot of adaptogens, but the thing is, cortisol keeps histamine in check. So when your levels go too low, which can happen in chronic stress, histamine once rules the roof again. It just goes crazy.
So even if you're not stressed, is that what you said?
No, if you have chronically stressed. So chronic stress decreases cortisol even more.
It decreases or increases it?
It decreases first.
Oh, wow. So chronic stress decreases it, or you could have high cortisol from stress, right?
Yeah. So the high cortisol we get from stress is actually, where we act is we fight or fight mode, and we get rid of the stress and our cortisol levels come back to normal. But if we're chronically stressed, that's when, the cortisol levels are low and histamine just goes crazy again.
Wow. What strategies can be used to support gut health and histamine clearance?
So basically coming from our diet, looking at, our fiber intake. Are we producing short-chain fatty acids? Because short-chain fatty acids communicates with every single cell in our body, produces serotonin, produces our vitamins, balances our mood again. Diversity of foods as well. So we look at, those fiber-producing foods that are so important. Are we getting our vegetables? Are we, not constipated? Balanced bowel functions, that's important.
Yeah.
Are we hydrated?
Yeah.
So it's all about the gut nutrients. I would love to add in fermented foods, but I know if you're already prone to histamine, it's high histamine.
So it's high histamine, but if you're not prone for high histamine, then those foods are fine?
In moderation, yes, definitely. Your bone broths and your, kombuchas and kimchis and all of that,
I took this thing called the body glue. It was like a ginger turmeric. It was so yum. And I noticed massive differences. I had a friend get onto that, and he also noticed massive differences in their body. All right, so we touched on stress and histamine already, but we're going to move into that topic now. I think we've already covered it and you've already answered it. How does stress affect histamine levels, and what symptoms can arise from stress-related histamine release?
Okay, so the beauty about stress and what's quite unique about stress and histamine is that histamine cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So anything that's triggered from the diet doesn't actually cross the blood-brain barrier, right? It stays outside. But there's certain ways that it can, and it can if you have a leaky gut. It can if you are, chronically stressed, and that's to do more with the vagus nerve activity. So it's a gut-brain connection again.
Yeah, guys, that's my second book. I just released my second book, Mr. Vegas, all about the gut-brain connection.
Congratulations,
for kids. Yes, continue, sorry.
So that they are histamine neurotransmitters in the brain. So there are cells in the hypothalamus that actually produce histamine, and it stays in the brain. So if we don't have, that genetic issue, if we have that with HNMT, we're not breaking down the histamine, we're not methylating, we're not, producing SAMI to activate HNMT. So that stress is really activated in the brain. But if we can manage our gut health, if we can, calm that inflammatory storm in the gut and support our, gut lining, we actually can reduce the stress in the brain.
Okay. So gut lining repair?
Yeah, definitely.
What ingredients would you recommend for that? Because I think I have my own, but what do you recommend for gut lining repair?
Slippery elm, marshmallow root, glutamine, zinc carnosine, aloe vera.
Saccharomyces boulardii?
Saccharomyces boulardii.
Oh, I could swear by I could swear by it. I live on it.
It's actually so good. And also things like, looking at the mucin lining of the gut as well. That's the second part of the gut lining.
Yeah.
Making sure that's intact. So we have mucin, actin bacteria, the Akkermansia.
Yeah.
That will really help.
So when you said to me zinc or carnosine and cyprium and all that, for maybe 12 months, even prior to that, but 12 months, I have been consistently taking all those ingredients. The product would change, but generally they all have very similar ingredients. And then I bought an extra Saccharomyces boulardii to take extra because I know that helps me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even explain to you. Like, I will get a symptom and then within 24 hours, 48 hours, that symptom's gone away on a Saccharomyces boulardii.
So good, yeah.
All right, the big topic is histamine and women's health.
Oh, yes.
We're going to touch on men's health, and I'm just conscious of time, but this is a big one, and we wanted to do some examples today. How does histamine interact with hormones like estrogen and progesterone in women?
Yeah, it's often a problematic relationship, really. So histamine increases mast cells. Estrogen increases mast cells to release histamine. And then it also increases, histamine release from the ovaries. So it's a double-edged sword. It's because histamine is actually found in the placenta as well. The DAO enzyme is found in the placenta.
Okay.
So that's always going to, have that potential. And the interesting thing about pregnancy is that often you may be, allergy prone, or you may be sensitive to foods that are high in histamine.
Yeah.
But for some reason, DAO in pregnancy works beautifully. So you can often tolerate foods that are high in histamine while you're pregnant.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Because you said it increases in pregnancy.
DAO enzyme increases in pregnancy.
So it helps to break down histamine.
So it protects the fetus almost.
Wow.
It's an amazing relationship.
Wow, so that's a little miracle there.
Yeah.
So even though you might have these DAO enzyme activity reduction generally, but when you're pregnant, that increases to protect the baby and be able to enjoy lots of histamine foods,
yes.
which are really yummy. Okay, and what histamine-related symptoms are common during PMS, PCOS, endometriosis, that's a big one for me because I have a family member who's riddled with that, and perimenopause?
Okay, so the common link there is histamine and estrogen, right?
Okay.
So you're going to get, for example, in PMS, when you get around the luteal phase, day 12 to 14 and right up until day 28, you're going to get that, brain fog, anxiety, insomnia, more sensitive to pain. You can be bloated, retain fluid. So, all of those things are going to be quite, noticeable around that luteal phase.
Yeah.
With PCOS, there's that association with high estrogen dominance, and also, insulin, blood sugar dysregulation issues. So you're going to get more pain, more anxiety, more sensitive to chemicals as well in the environment. Okay. And endometriosis. So what happens with endometriosis? There are mast cells actually in the endometrial lesions. So every time your estrogen surges, you're going to get this massive release of histamine in those endometrial lesions.
So that's why they get that constant pain, because the mast cells are like...
The mast cells are being activated. And remember, the mast cells don't just release histamine, they release the prostaglandins, the cytokines, the leukotrienes. So they release all this pain inflammatory markers as well at the same time.
All right. And then, so we talked about how that would affect them or how they're related to them. Then how would you help someone, or what advice would you give someone who has, PCOS, endometriosis and perimenopause with histamine?
Okay. The first thing we've got to look at is how you're breaking down estrogen, right?
Okay.
So if you're not methylating, if your detox pathways in the liver are not being supported,
Yes.
especially phase 1 and phase 2, and even
Yes.
phase 3,
Okay.
we have to make sure that that works. We have to work from the ground up as well. So, estrogen and histamine is actually eliminated by the bowel in the stool. So if you're not, breaking it down, if it's recycling in your system, it's just creating that inflammatory process.
Yeah.
So making sure
goes around in circles. So you've already got this influx of a high toxin load because you're not detoxifying properly and you're not breaking down estrogen properly.
Yes.
And so it's already built up in your body.
Yes.
So when you get your period or whatever the time of the month is, everything would just influx because it's already there.
It's already there, yeah.
Okay.
So often with my clients, I do, an estrogen metabolite test to see what they're breaking down. I look at the estradiol. I look at which pathways are being eliminated, which are being activated. I look at the 4-hydroxy-estradiol. So, I look at all of those things to make sure it's going through the right pathways. And if it's not, then I give them more assistance. So whether it's DIM or it's calcium D-glucarate, something to support it. And they often really feel much better.
And this is to clear internally, which people don't understand. We should all be highly functioning humans that are clearing out metabolites and toxins. But the problem that we're getting is that we're not doing that.
Yes.
And I know glutathione for phase 2, that helps with estrogen cleansing.
Definitely.
Is that right?
That's the master antioxidant, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely helps with phase 2. And, sometimes we force our body to make glutathione.
Yeah.
And some people just inherit that genetic issue where they don't make glutathione at all. So NAC, NAC, N-acetylcysteine is always a great one to start with.
Yeah, or the reduced form, which is still active. But I have that problem that I don't even produce glutathione reduced or glutathione. So I have to actually make sure that I'm getting that in.
And, not forgetting our diet, that we have to support all of this with our diet. So, having your brassicas, your, broccoli, cauliflower.
Yeah, the cruciferous vegetables for phase 2.
Broccoli sprouts in the diet daily. So all of that. And obviously stress and mood and sleep. Sleep is the most important thing.
I reckon if you just eliminated that, we could eat McDonald's every day. No, I'm joking. But, it's just those endorphins matter a lot to everything, metabolizing foods, neurotransmitters, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to touch on that emotional aspect in our next podcast. But today we'll talk about the human biology side. So how can women manage histamine sensitivities and restore hormonal balance? And I think we just sort of touched on that.
Yeah, we talked about the liver health.
Liver health and cruciferous vegetables, maybe supporting it with an NAC or glutathione reduced or glutathione form. So we can clear out the estrogen metabolites in the body so that doesn't cause that trigger at that time of the month.
That's true.
Okay. All right, PMDD and histamine sensitivity, because we know that's also a hormonal, massive topic, massive.
Yeah, it is massive.
So what is PMDD and how is it connected to histamine sensitivity?
So it's it has that estrogen dominance impact as well, PMDD. But the thing with PMDD, people don't really think, they almost think that it's normal to have a PMS symptom. It's almost normal to have PMDD, but it's really not, because PMDD is more than just a rough period, right? It's where you feel, it's like a cyclical issue that you have every single month in the luteal phase. It feels as if your brain and your immune system have been hijacked at that part.
And that's really true. I've seen people go through that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get anxiety, you depression, also rage, and just aggression. You become so irritable. You also get very low in energy. Sometimes people either sleep too much or don't sleep at all. So it could go on either end. So we basically still have to support your detoxification of estrogen, seeing what surges. We have to make sure that histamine clearance is supported, because that can impact in the brain as well, can disrupt your neurotransmitters, your dopamine, serotonin, and GABA. And most importantly, with the PMDD and a lot of with even premenstrual issues and perimenopause, is supporting progesterone. So research has found that often these women have very low progesterone levels. And again, when you have low progesterone levels,
you get high estrogen.
Estrogen dominance, yeah.
Yeah, and so because you need to, everything's a ratio, so good balance.
Yes, yeah.
All right, so you also touched on that was going to be the next question. How do hormonal fluctuations during the luteal phase exacerbate PMDD symptoms?
Yeah, so it's the same thing. So with that surges in estrogen is going to surge histamine.
Okay.
So it's and it happens both ways, and you're going to get more inflamed, and the more inflamed you are,
more histamines you get. Oh my God, it's this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is.
What strategies can help manage histamine-related PMDD symptoms? We talked about that with the
PMS.
PMS and like estrogen, liver support.
Yeah.
Is that would that be the same?
Yeah, just supporting the liver, supporting your neurological, your precursors to support serotonin there. But again, the gut plays a massive aspect in that as well. Yeah.
Which, of course, that was the original topic.
And also looking at your probiotics, like you mentioned SB, which is fantastic. I love it. But there's also some, probiotics that actually increase histamine, and there's some that support the clearance of histamine.
Okay.
Because in the gut, there's actually histamine producers and histamine degraders. So if you have an imbalance in your gut microbiome and you're just producing the histamine and you don't have enough histamine degraded bacteria, there's always going to be an issue. So that's why you may want to look at microbiome mapping, like seeing what's actually happening in your microbiome, rather than just taking a probiotic for the sake of, it may help.
Everyone takes a general one, but it's not really tailored for what they need. I'm not saying you wouldn't get any benefit, but you're not going to really get and hone in on what you want and what you need.
And sometimes too much of a good thing can
it
still
could be a
tip
bad
the
thing.
balance.
Oh my God. 10 years of hot yoga, which helped me originally clear out because I didn't realize all of this human biology stuff then.
Yeah.
But I did too much of it. I sweat too much. I was in the hot room too much, and then I lost all my minerals and the cofactors. So that's another topic.
That's another thing, yeah.
Okay, histamine and men's health, and that I believe is like the last big topic, and then we just talk about some histamine management solutions. How does histamine impact men's health, particularly in terms of brain function, gut health, and hormone balance?
Yeah, so we know that it's a big neurotransmitter messenger, histamine, especially in the brain. So, men may suffer, like anyone, also fatigue, irritability, vertigo. They could also get anxious, panic attacks, dizziness. So all of that is a massive indication that, look, hang on a second, there's something going on with histamine in the brain. So we look at that, especially if they have food allergies, if they notice they bloat after meals, especially, if they need to have a nap during the day. It could be many other things in there, but it could just be amplified by histamine, right? So we need to look at that as well. If they're working out and they notice, I'm not building muscle and I'm not looking at how other guys are looking.
Yeah.
Look at your testosterone. If testosterone is low, that could be also,
another reason why.
Another reason.
But also if they're not getting methyltetrahydrofolate into the cells, which is producing the HNMT, breaking down histamines intracellular. If they're sensitive to foods, anyone who's got high sensitivities to food, I look at that as that they need to look at their gut.
Yeah,
because you can't be reacting that much to everything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you wouldn't react, and you do obviously have symptoms that are more sensitive to others, but you need to really look at your lining of your gut, the junctions, your villi hairs, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is, look at what you're craving. If you feel that you need fast foods, you need, like stop for McDonald's or just support your energy levels, you are sort of blocking up your folate receptors as well.
Yeah, of course.
So that's another thing, that's the fortified foods.
So because fortified foods and high histamine, like influx, so high folic acid in the blood, that would get them to want to crave more of that stuff?
They would crave it because they'll crave it for the serotonin part.
Oh.
For the comfort, and I need the energy, and I'll just, have something quick. Yeah.
And I agree with that because I've had that symptom specifically around the time of the month. I don't touch bread, but I'll actually crave refined bread.
Yes.
And I was like, it must be that time, that time. All right. So what are the symptoms of high histamine sensitivity in men, and how can they be managed? We already covered that.
Yeah.
We've talked about all these topics, Mogestri, and we do have to wrap it up soon. I want to give the audience some practical solutions for histamine management, and we have covered it so much in the podcast. But if we were to break it down and talk about it in 3 different topics or different questions. What dietary lifestyle changes can help reduce the histamine-related symptoms?
Okay. So this would be something that someone that is sensitive to histamine would be suffering or going through for quite some time. And the most important first step is to actually make the association with your diet and your symptoms. So keep a food diary, like I said before, keep a mood and stress diary as well. So when you eat a certain type of food, how does it impact your mood? How does it impact your sleep? Your energy levels. So, just for 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, just to find out what's
the
triggering
patterns.
you. Yeah, okay,
to find
cool.
other triggers as well, because it could be different for everyone, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So that would help. And then looking at your diet, try to eliminate those high histamine foods. And there you would need sort of the help of the practitioner, because, you want to make sure that you're not, deficient in nutrients as well. So you're not cutting out too many things from your diet.
Yeah, because then you lack in other ways and you get other symptoms for other things because you're
Exactly.
nutrient deficient.
Exactly.
And I know because I've lived that, literally.
Exactly.
Okay.
Support your gut, as we mentioned. Support your liver, making sure you're getting your cofactors for, DAO production and HNMT production. So as much as you can, definitely.
And how can nutrients like B6, magnesium and quercetin support histamine clearance and mast cell stabilization? I know you've covered it.
Yeah.
But in just quickly brief.
So all of those are cofactors, as we mentioned. So B6, vitamin C and copper, they're cofactors for DAO.
Okay.
And then for HNMT, you need the cofactors, which are the metals, and make sure that, even if you have MTHFR variants, so you've had a genomic test and you have inherited those variants on your MTHFR, then definitely look at cofactors. Look at whether you need methylating ones or, semi-active cofactors.
Okay. And what role does gut microbiome mapping and probiotics play in managing histamine sensitivities, which you already touched on?
But this is the core. So this is when we sort of, really go into those strains of bacterial populations you've inherited in your gut. And often it comes up as if, I've actually don't produce any histamine degrading bacteria and I produce too many histamine producing bacteria. And that's when we'll target the probiotics, to make sure
with what you need.
What you need.
Yeah.
Rather than, like a blanket probiotic.
Yeah. Like some other brands do. They just do a multi-strained.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think histamine's often misunderstood and how can people better recognize its impact on their health?
I think histamine's often misunderstood because a lot of people don't make that association and they don't realize it's actually the silent partner in a lot of, symptoms. So if someone that has sort of rapid heart rate or palpitations and they are very stressed or they just, very anxious people, that could be associated with histamine. So histamine may not be the cause, but it can definitely be the amplifier. It could just make your symptoms worse.
Okay.
So it's important that we understand, what our biology is saying to us. It's all information.
It's a feedback loop system.
Yeah.
It's talking to us. Your genes are talking to you.
Exactly.
Remember last podcast? How can understanding histamine help improve overall health and well-being?
So it's like decoding all our symptoms, calming calming the reactivity, calming the inflammation, so we can better understand our whole body. We know what fuels our body to support resilience and energy and mood.
Love it. The podcast is all about being thyself, being thy best self. How could we use this knowledge about histamine to improve our overall health and well-being, to be our best self? What would you say?
So there's a few things that stand out. The first one is be your own doctor, like investigate. You know your body better than anyone else. So if something just feels off, investigate, get to the core, integrate, use all the help you can get, whether from a practitioner, your GP, get your bloods tested. All of that is really important. And you just want to elevate your health, right? You want to be your best self. Be thy best self.
Be thyself, yeah. So if you were to give me a short brief and sum it up, what were the 3 things we talked about before, remember?
Yeah.
You said investigate.
Investigate, integrate, and elevate.
Love it. The end.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, that was pack-filled information.
It was.
Oh
yeah.
my God. I don't know how we're going to break this down. But thank you so
Yeah.
much, Mogestri. Again, you're you're full of knowledge.
Oh, no, thank you, Jo.
There was not one question I asked you had no idea about, literally. And the information was like boom, 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 boom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And this
Always
podcast,
a pleasure.
Thank you. It's always, I can't wait to do many more with you. We'll do different topics. So thank you everyone for listening to the Be Thyself podcast. Again, today was about histamines. This is a very, let's say, a topic that's really close to my heart. So today we wanted to share all this information. We'll be providing more information. If you want to, you can jump on to our YouTube and Spotify as well. And you can ask the questions below on the YouTube if you have anything more to ask about histamines. Thank you so much, Mogestri.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.